Welcome to the Daily Exchange from Consensus New York. I'm Andrew Munro and this is Reuben Yap of Zcoin, and we'll be right back. Reuben, I understand things have been very exciting in Zcoin lately for reasons both good and bad.
Yes.
Let's start with the bad first.
All right, sure. Recently, there was a cryptographic flaw in the privacy protocol that we use, which is called the Zcoin protocol. And it was actually a flaw that existed since like the beginning of the protocol, maybe like 2014 or so. And although it was like looked at by many cryptographers, it was missed. And just like a couple of weeks back, we discovered like irregularity in the pattern of like privacy transactions, and we actually realized that someone was printing coins out of thin air. So. We managed to handle that okay. I think what happened was we managed to shut down our privacy transactions for using an emergency update. And after that, when we found the flaw, we disclosed it to other projects, many other projects that also use the Zcoin protocol. And then we gave the cryptographic details of the flaw. Yeah.
It's somewhat telling. The Zcoin protocol is one of the more venerable privacy protocols in the space.
Sure, I would say probably there's only like maybe 4 or 5 like privacy protocols out there that are gaining serious traction, or which I would guess like Ring CT using Munro. There's like Zero Cash is using Zcash, using many other privacy coins as well. There's the Mimblewimble using Green and Beam, and then the Zerocoin, which is used in Zcoin, PIVX, and we were like the first ones, kind of like the pioneers of that kind of like first implemented Zerocoin protocol.
Yeah.
And how like Zerocoin protocol kind of works is that you take coins, you destroy it, and then at any time in the future you redeem brand new coins with no previous transaction history. And to redeem those new coins, you have to sort of give a zero knowledge proof, which basically proves that you destroyed the coins in the past, but without showing which actual coins you actually burnt. So the cryptographic flaw, how it actually worked, was that I could burn a single coin, and if the protocol worked correctly, you could only redeem it once. But what happened here was the flaw in the proof allowed someone to actually reuse that original burn to create as many coins as he wanted. And we had like a damage of about maximum of 1% of circulating supply, probably worth like $400,000 US today. Not great, but it's not too bad.
It's not critically devastating.
No. I mean, like in the grand scale of things, no one lost money. I guess like a slight inflation of supply. And I think this is one of the really cool things about having what we call an auditable supply, where many times in privacy coins, you are trying to balance privacy. That means like values of the coins themselves. Versus like total privacy. Like for example, like inflation bugs are not new.
Right, Zcash had one.
Zcash had one. They have a supply that's hard to audit. Of course, they've done stuff like a turnstile to try and mitigate that. Like Monero also had an inflation bug, which they felt that no one took advantage of. Bitcoin has had 2 inflation bugs. One really early, like trillions of coins were created out of thin air. It was because of the auditable supply, where you could see the coins, like, okay, how many coins are there existing, that they could kind of detect the flaw. And like recently, I think it was just like a couple of months ago, I think Bitcoin also had a big inflation bug that was actually found by a Bitcoin Cash developer. So and Stellar as well. I think it was like recently revealed that they had an inflation bug as well. So it's not a problem that's limited to privacy coins, but because of the privacy element, if you're hiding amounts, it's a lot harder to tell when you are having this exploited. So I guess like here at like Zcoin, we kind of like we need to balance privacy and kind of like supply auditability, because on the one hand, our main feature is privacy, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, if there's the possibility that there's like a billion coins existing in like somewhere, that also devalues your coin. So we're kind of trying to balance that at Zcoin by requiring people to, when they burn coins, it has to come back to the base layer.
Yeah, the auditability makes a lot of sense. Make sure you know when you do actually have a problem.
Yes.
But it does seem like privacy coins are usually affected by this.
Yes.
At a certain point, when do you say the underlying protocol is time to update?
Well, okay, like I would say that, like stuff like Monero, they have what we call a very simple cryptographic construction. That means quite basic cryptographic primitives. Most people will be able to understand how it works, and they use certain balance proofs, range proofs to kind of say like there's no coins being created out of thin air. And that's quite a simple construction. So if something goes wrong, generally it's a lot easier to spot.
Yeah.
With Zcash, it's an amazing system, great anonymity, great performance, but their setup is really, 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 really complicated. Like, for example, like the bug that they had was live for 2 years with the best scientists and cryptographers that could not spot it. And that's why like we are moving towards like something called Sigma, which is like kind of a simplified version of Zerocoin, which actually has better performance characteristics than Zerocoin. And something we call no trusted setup. That means no potential kind of backdoor during the initial ceremony or so. And we felt that, look, simple construction that gives pretty good anonymity has a lot of value in this space where you're trying to balance anonymity, but making sure that your cryptography, a lot of people can understand and look at it and audit the code. And at the same time, when things go wrong, it's much easier to pinpoint where the problems are.
So, Sigma, if I get it right, it has auditable supply, no trusted setup.
Yes.
And provides strong privacy.
Yeah, and it's much smaller proof sizes. Like, for example, like the original Zerocoin protocol, like it was originally 50 kilobytes, then you could bring it down to about 25 kilobytes. Sort of like 25 kilobytes, like 50 times the size of a regular Bitcoin transaction, which is actually kind of why it didn't really gain traction with the Bitcoin community, because Zerocoin was actually a proposal to build on Bitcoin to have this anonymity features, but because of this really large proof sizes, it didn't really like, hey, how are we going to make this scale? Now, Sigma brings that down to about 1.5 kilobytes, which is about, maybe 3 times or 4 times bigger than a Bitcoin transaction. And it's not really a huge problem at those type of sizes. Like Munro has similar types of sizes as well. And I feel like, having a system that has no trusted setup, like Zcash, so much controversy over the trusted setup issue. And I think it's good to have like an alternative ZKP implementation, like a zero knowledge proof type of system that's built on like really solid cryptographic principles that have kind of stood the test of time. Yeah.
So Sigma sounds like the complete package. Don't want to toot your own horn, right? But is it as good as it sounds?
There are definitely drawbacks. It's kind of like, I would say like really openly right now, there's no perfect privacy system. I would say in terms of anonymity and like performance, the zero cache setup is the best. A huge anonymity sets, great proof sizes like 288 bytes and like really, really quick, like millisecond verification time. But to achieve that, they have to have a very complex setup, a trusted setup with like toxic waste, and then they're using quite experimental cryptography. Monero is using basic kind of cryptography, it's quite ring signatures, but as you can with the recent type of disclosure, decoy-based systems where you're kind of like mixing with other people or finding transaction to mix with, may not be the best in privacy, because there is your real transaction is still in there. It's just kind of hidden by noise. When you kind of contrast it with zero knowledge proofs, where the coin just disappears and then teleports to another place, as opposed to when I'm making a transaction, I'm kind of like creating a lot of noise. So like one of my favorite ways to explain it is like kind of like if I want to let out a fart, in a room with Munro. I grabbed 10 other people and I fought and it could be one of the 10 people. While with zero knowledge proof, it's kind of I let out a fart in a room and then I choose when it's going to smell. Anytime in the future. So it could have been anyone that went into the room after that time. So I feel like the anonymity is a lot greater there. Now, what are the drawbacks of Sigma? So right now, the anonymity set, for example, is limited to effectively about 200,000. You're mixing with not really mixing, your set of plausible deniability is about 200 over 1,000, which is not bad. Yeah. And we can probably scale it further. I think that's probably the main drawback of Sigma. And
can you get a benchmark for how good a good set is? Or a bad set looks like?
So I don't even know how to quantify Zcash was 2 to the power of 32, which is a huge number.
Really good.
And we are aiming 2 to the power of 18, which is 262,000 or something like that, which is quite okay. Monero's with their right now their ring size is about 11 or 10 or 11, so they're kind of mixing with 10, 11 per transaction. So that's kind of, and Mimblewimble is basically everyone who's making a transaction on that particular block. So it's not going to be in the many thousands. It depends on how many people use it and so. So we feel that hey, this. Zcash is the largest anonymity set, taking a lot of risk to get there. But here we are getting anonymity sets of a few 100,000. Isn't that pretty damn good? I think so. And we're doing research to maybe bring it up to 1 million. And maybe there's a certain point. Okay, is there a difference between an anonymity set of 1 million or 5 million? Maybe not. It becomes so much that it can't be really meaningfully analyzed. We don't know, but I do feel that sort of a scale of things. And the other kind of weakness with Sigma, I would say, is the sort of requirement for what we call fixed denominations, which means that when you burn 1 coin, you have to redeem 1 coin. You burn 10 coins, you have to redeem 10 coins. And why you need that is because if someone burns 10.576 coins and then they have to redeem 10.576, it's going to be the same guy. But by forcing them in fixed denominations, you're kind of mixing with everyone else who wants to burn 10, mixing with everyone else that burns 1. But there's kind of a usability drawback. It's kind of having $10 notes, $5 notes, and your anonymity is restricted to the number of people that use the $10 note or the number of people that use the $5 note. Or let's say if I want to spend $23, I have to use 2 10s and a couple of $1.
All right. Yeah.
And that's kind of inefficient because each of those are individual spends. Each of them are 1.5, 1.5, 1.5. $10 notes, 1.5 kilobytes. $10 notes, another 1.5 kilobytes. And we're moving to a system called Lelantus, which is actually an improvement on Sigma that does away with all these fixed denominations. That means I can burn any arbitrary amount, 576.54 coins, and then I can redeem 0.1 coins or 0.56 coins. And that really greatly increases anonymity because I'm not just in the $10 box, I'm not just in the $1 box. Yeah. And so I guess that's kind of where Sigma is. I would say it's pretty good. I would say it's among the top privacy systems. We're not taking so much risk, and when used properly, I would say it offers a lot of privacy. And actually, it's not just about the privacy protocol system itself, but kind of how people use it. You can have the best privacy system in the world, but if you make it difficult for people to use, you're gonna crap up.
Convenience trumps privacy. The early days of Monero, people would just go for the zero mix-ins.
And for example, with Zcash, they had arbitrary mints and spends, and when they were analyzing it, too many people were burning 5.37 coins and then redeeming 5.37 coins, which is not how it's supposed to be used. With Sigma, we've kind of automated the process where you say I want to spend 237 coins, it'll break down the denominations automatically for you. And then after that, when you redeem them, it automatically selects which dollar note you should be redeeming to fulfill that particular spend. Now, the problem with this type of systems is that sometimes, let's say, if I have a $10 note, what happens if I want to pay someone $1.50? right? And with fixed denominations, there's a problem because I have to redeem the entire 10.
Yeah.
I give the 150 to someone else, and then what happens to the remaining 850? If I keep it with that remaining 850 and I mix it with my own funds, I kind of just tainted my coins and broke my own privacy, right? So the way Sigma kind of deals with it is like, okay, when we have that kind of change, we automatically remit it. It means we reburn those change immediately, so it never taints your other funds as well. And I think that's a huge improvement compared to how we implemented Zcoin in the first place. Yeah.
So, what's the time frame for the developments between Sigma and the update? And I guess how long has Sigma been in development for?
So we actually announced Sigma in 2017. We did research on it, we liked it, and then I guess we kind of really began work in like real earnest in maybe early 2018. And we kind of been like working, more than a year on this protocol or so. And I guess the Zcoin hack came at a really good time because we were already about to roll out Sigma on the testnet, and so when the hack happened, we immediately had something to switch to. It wasn't like people right now are talking about, oh yeah, you're abandoning Zcoin and just straight away jump into the next privacy protocol. Like, no, actually we've been planning this since 2017. It just happens to be around the same time. And luckily now Sigma's on testnet. Maybe in another 6 weeks or so it'll be on mainnet. And you're welcome to come onto our testnet, give it a shot. I personally think it's really cool when we see like the coins just disappearing and then reappearing. Yeah. It's really exciting for me.
So potentially what you're sitting on here is the next generation privacy protocol.
Yes.
Do you think it's going to start rolling out more widely?
What do you mean, like our privacy protocol, or like?
And Sigma in general. Do you think it's going to see more adoption beyond it? If it does prove to be over time as good as it seems on paper currently.
Well, actually, yeah. I mean, like right now, I think there's already 2 other projects that have kind of adopted Sigma because when Zcoin kind of went poof, there are ways to fix it, but we were evaluating, hey, we're going to phase it out anyway. Why are we going to spend so much time trying to fix this thing that we were moving away from? And in our cryptographic disclosure, we actually suggested ways to fix it. And like if you want to develop Zcoin, you can go down those paths.
Yeah.
But many other coins who did not have like independent cryptographic research, you're like, okay, I'm just going to adapt Sigma from Zcoin and transition into that privacy protocol. So we already had like 2 projects reach out to us, say, yeah, we're going to use your code base and use your protocol, which is great. But the protocol that really has kind of like captured a lot of interest is our next gen, our kind of build on from Sigma, which is Lelantus, which it allows this ability to have arbitrary mints and spends, like burns and redeems with any amount. It actually also has the ability to do like completely private transactions where you only know that a transaction has happened, nothing else. Kind of similar to Zcash. We're not so sure whether we want to enable that feature because of auditability, but that protocol has that flexibility to allow that with really basic cryptographic assumptions in a simple type of construction. And it's kind of like gained quite a lot of interest. Like for example, Munro's like chief scientist actually talked about Lelantus in his monthly research report and say like, hey, this is a really interesting cryptographic structure. Let's take a look at it, and he even built like a proof of concept implementation of Lelantus. Even like some of the Zcash engineers or former Zcash engineers took a look at that, and they were like, wow, like this is really interesting zero knowledge proof implementation that deserves further research. So I do feel I'm personally really excited about Lelantus because I feel that it's probably I feel like it's the most well-rounded privacy protocol out there. That's because I'm biased. I think so. And this is like not just stopping there. Even though we have released the Lelantus paper on ePrint and getting feedback from other scientists, we actually, potentially moving it to anonymity sets of 1 million or so, or even better performance. Like, since we published the paper, we managed to, reduce the verification time by half, which, just like in a couple of weeks. So the rate of development of Lelandis is going really, really fast, and we're really, really excited to roll this out. But in the meantime, because Lelandis also uses Sigma cryptography, we think it's good to just roll out Sigma now, move away from Zcoin, let it settle, let people, look at our implementation, and then when we're ready, when we're kind of done with all our research, then we can maybe implement the letters maybe in beginning 2019 or so. 2020, sorry. Back in the
It's a deadline already.
Yeah.
I guess you can't rush it, right? It's a super finicky area of privacy protocols.
Yes, definitely, and it's actually something that I'm really concerned about in the space. The understanding of these privacy protocols are really poor, Monero, served its purpose for many, many years, and now there's a lot of research that's coming out is that really good enough? Recently there was a paper that came out where you could spam transactions for the cost of maybe $10,000 per year, and you could de-anonymize 50% of transactions, and even in the early years of Monero's, basically they had almost all their transactions de-anonymized. And I guess there's a real question of is the decoy system the best way to do it? Is Mimblewimble the way to do a decoy type of system where you're building noise around? We don't know yet.
Yeah.
I still think that ZKP is the best way to do it, where, as I say, it's just teleportation. And traditionally, even when Fluffy says that, the best anonymity is Zcash shielded transactions, but then he hits on their trusted setup, their moon math and things like that. But we're hey, look, we can achieve similar stuff without the moon math, without the trusted setup. So I think there's a lot of research that needs to be gone into this, and right now, the average user doesn't really understand their privacy, and there's so many other fake privacy coins out there, which really, I guess, do a disservice to the space. And even worse, I feel that Bitcoin or the larger coins, they aren't treating privacy seriously, and there are even some coins like BSV who think privacy is horrible. That's only for criminals to use, and I think that's really unfortunate. I think that privacy is a general human right, and it should be about protecting the average guy from having, because as you said, the blockchain remembers everything, because everything's permanent there, and when I pay someone, for a cup of coffee or anything, why should he learn so much information about myself, how I spend my money? Potentially, I bought this from Binance, I got it from Bitfinex, or potentially how much net worth I have. That shouldn't be the case for, let's say, a global payment system, or even if you say a store of value, why should it be not fungible, right? So I feel that's really, really important, and no solution out there for Bitcoin really kind of addresses that. They're using some mixers, Wasabi Wallet, I guess is the best way to get kind of privacy on Bitcoin. They talked about Lightning Network, which doesn't really provide privacy as people think it does. Then they are talking about Taproot and Schnorr signatures, which kind of improve privacy a little bit on multi-signatures, but it's not a holistic solution. And perhaps that's the way Bitcoin has to go, auditable supply, that you can see every transaction, maybe. But I do feel that if you want to be a payments platform or something that people want to build on, it needs to have a level of privacy as well. And we shouldn't just be talking about criminals using it, money laundering, all this sort of stuff, which I feel is distracting the space. And that's why I feel really unfortunate that, the number one privacy coin in market cap, Monero, has really embraced the dark side of darknet usage, drug usage, when it does a disservice to privacy in general.
Yeah, but you can't really discourage it. Arguably, the best privacy coin will always have to be the coin of the dark side, right?
Not necessarily. I would say that maybe now, this is more really small transactions. If you want to really move large amounts of money, that's going to be really hard, even with privacy transactions. Okay, first of all, let's assume that these privacy systems work. Most of the time, you want to pay for your AKs, you want to pay for your bombs, you still need to convert them into fiat. and you need the fiat gateways, and that's why I feel that that as long as you regulate the fiat gateways, that means the conversion points from crypto to real, like not real money, but really controversial, but fiat money, then you're going to prevent the worst cases of money laundering, and after all, cash is the number one way to do money laundering and criminal activity right now.
As you did say, any serious payment coin will need privacy. So
Yes.
if you're talking about it in the context of privacy coin being a serious payment coin, do you necessarily have to redeem it for fiat at any point?
I do feel that we are well away. I mean, I don't think governments are going to abandon saying, I'm going to let you pay your taxes in Bitcoin or that's kind of how they control people, right? So I think, yes, there's definitely the whole global currency argument that I will feel it would. I don't think it's going to supplant fiat money unless we abandon countries and financial systems that we have. It's going to disrupt it, but I do feel that they're going to live alongside each other, and perhaps one day cryptocurrency payments could go together with fiat payments or not. But right now, I don't know, maybe we're 10 years out, 15 years out or whatnot, and I'd rather have, if you're going to ban privacy coins, you are going to force it to the dark side. The only people who will be using it are going to be the criminals. And it's also, to me, futile, because if you're going to support Bitcoin, I can always convert my privacy coins to Bitcoin and then convert it to fiat. So what's the distinction there? Like, what are we trying to say? And where do we draw the line of what's a privacy coin? Like, Ethereum's looking at privacy smart contracts, Bitcoin's looking at privacy features, Bitcoin Cash as like cash shuffle. Are we saying that because it's bad privacy, we accept this type of privacy, No,
that's a good point. Because all these other projects are embracing privacy because it is a necessity for any actual serious adoption.
Correct.
You can't simply have everything out there on the ledger for all to see.
Right.
Which makes moves such as Japan banning privacy coins from crypto exchanges. It makes that seem a little bit ridiculous because it is just...
No, it's totally ridiculous because that was in response to the CoinCheck hack, which involved NEM, which had nothing to do with this, no privacy features. And they were basically, they trusted all these guys that were setting up Japanese exchanges were former bankers, former in financial institutions. They trusted them to set up these exchanges in the right way. They messed up. Instead of owning up, they needed a scapegoat, and privacy coins were, because that whole hack had nothing to do with privacy coins. No coins were, changed to privacy coins and whatnot. It was, as far as I know, it was just NEM. And maybe they converted to BTC, I don't know, but it had nothing to do with Monero, Zcash, or anything. It was just like, I'm going to ban privacy coins. And I felt that's a horrible, scapegoat type of situation. It had nothing to do with it.
I guess it comes back to privacy being tough to understand in more than one way.
People have been painting it always in the bad light, and I feel really upset about that. Which is why actually we're thinking hey, should we be branding in black? Maybe we should be more of a more approachable color.
Well, there we go, I guess. Try to test some things.
We're actually trying to, in Thailand, we're trying to make our payments a lot easier to use, maybe nationwide adoption, where you can just pay for a cup of noodles and pay using Zcoin, and the merchant receives Thai baht. We're working on things like that where we can get widespread adoption, and hopefully then when we're just using it for everyday transactions, people are not going to say privacy coins are just for dodgy stuff.
I guess there's a long way to go.
It's a long way to go.
Thanks for joining us, Reuben.
Thank you so much.
The Dead Exchange from Consensus, signing off.